The war was ending, but the real battle was just beginning. Not for land, not for glory, but for money itself. In the ashes of 1945, bombs stopped falling, but the world's economies lay in ruins. Factories silent, banks empty, currencies worth less than the paper they were printed on. And in that silence, a question echoed through every parliament, palace, and office. What gives money its power, metal, or belief? Gold had always been the answer. It glittered, endured, obeyed no flag. Every empire trusted it, until someone decided to trust themselves more. As Finny says, gold shines bright, until someone prints a brighter lie. This is the story of how gold, the immortal crown of empires, lost its throne, and how the dollar, born in fire and debt, became king. World War II didn't just destroy cities, it destroyed certainty. London's banks were bombed. Germany's currency collapsed. France traded bread with ration coupons. Even the victors were broke. Britain owed billions to the US. France owed Britain. Everyone owed someone, except America. For centuries, gold had been the world's safety net. You could bite it, hold it, hide it. It didn't default. It didn't vanish in war, but it couldn't rebuild a planet overnight. The world needed money that could move faster than ships, cross borders without question, and finance an entire civilization from rubble. And sitting quietly across the Atlantic, with factories humming and vaults full of gold, was the United States, holding nearly half of the world's total reserves. In July 1944, while the war still raged in Europe, representatives from 44 nations gathered in a luxury hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. 730 delegates. One goal: design a system that could prevent another Great Depression and keep peace through prosperity. The conference looked like cooperation, but behind the speeches and handshakes, it was a quiet struggle for financial dominance. The British economist John Maynard Keynes came armed with an idea: a neutral world currency, called the Bancor, a global coin belonging to no one. Across the table, U.S. Treasury official Harry Dexter White had other plans. No world currency. The world would use America's. After 3 weeks of negotiation, they agreed. Every currency would be pegged to the dollar, and the dollar pegged to gold at $35 an ounce. A peace treaty signed in ink, with a trap beneath the signature. The rules seemed simple, but history rarely follows simple rules. By 1948, the Marshall Plan arrived. $13 billion to rebuild Europe. Factories rose, cities glowed, and the same green paper that fed Europe's rebirth tied it to America's ledger. The aid came with conditions. Buy American goods, hire American ships, use American banks. Aid, just debt-wearing lipstick. Soon, the dollar wasn't just paper. It was lifeblood. The more dollars flowed, the stronger America's influence grew. Europe rebuilt, but stayed dependent. Its currencies were still measured against the dollar. And behind every exchange rate was a quiet truth. The world now ran on U.S. confidence. Not everyone was thrilled. By the early 1960s, France, led by Charles de Gaulle, noticed something troubling. America could print dollars at will, and every other nation had to earn them. De Gaulle called it exorbitant privilege. So he made a statement. In 1965, a French warship sailed to New York, not for diplomacy, but for gold. It arrived at the U.S. Treasury docks and demanded to exchange its paper for metal. A silent protest. And a warning. As Finny says, trust is like gold. Easy to lose, expensive to ship back. But America didn't blink. The dollar kept flowing, even as its golden backing quietly thinned. Gold stayed still. Dollars danced. By the mid-60s, the U.S. was funding wars abroad, welfare at home, and printing money to cover both. Each dollar was supposed to represent a slice of gold, but the vaults didn't lie. The slices were running out. By 1971, the math stopped working. America had printed far more dollars than gold to back them. Foreign nations lined up to redeem their paper for gold bars, and the bars were disappearing fast. August 15th, 1971. President Richard Nixon appeared on national television. He smiled, calm, confident, and with one sentence, he ended a century of financial tradition. The United States will suspend the convertibility of the dollar into gold. Translation: the dollar is now worth whatever we say it is. The world gasped. Without gold, what backed the dollar? Nothing. except faith. And faith somehow proved stronger than metal. The dollar didn't die. It evolved. In 1974, America struck a quiet deal with Saudi Arabia, and the petrodollar was born. Every barrel of oil sold worldwide would be priced in US dollars. If you wanted oil, you needed dollars first. If you needed dollars, you had to trade with America, or borrow from American banks. From that moment, the world's thirst for oil became a thirst for dollars. No more gold standard, just a trust standard, enforced by energy, markets, and might. No armies required, just contracts and pipelines. The ledger became the crown. The metal became myth. As Finny used to say, he who controls the invoice controls the empire. For ordinary people, it looked simple. Money in the wallet, prices on shelves, jobs paying in paper, not metal. But behind every paycheck, behind every imported car and overseas loan, was a hidden web of debt and dependence, all denominated in dollars. The world now lived inside America's balance sheet. And even as inflation, crises, and oil shocks came and went, no rival currency could dethrone it. The dollar had become too useful, too connected to fail. Gold still glimmered, but mostly in vaults and wedding rings. As Finny says, funny how a metal that once ruled the world now just decorates it. Decades passed. New players rose. Europe, China, digital finance. Yet the same logic endures. Trust moves markets. Confidence moves empires. The dollar is still the referee of global trade, the unit everyone complains about but can't live without. Because gold can't lend. Gold can't sanction. Gold can't click transfer. And in a digital world, speed beats shine every time. The dollar isn't perfect. It's just the best story everyone agreed to believe. As Finny says, some currencies aren't born to rule, just to outlast the rest. So what truly mattered in the end? Trust or gold? Could the next currency war already be online? In data, code, and belief systems written by algorithms? As Finny says, every empire thinks its currency will last forever. None have been right yet. Gold lost. Dollar won. But the game never ended.